What's good, crypto fam? Happy Monday, fun day. What's new? Let me know in the comments below. In today's show, we'll be discussing the latest technical analysis, as well as the 5 things to watch out for in the Bitcoin market this week. And quoting the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Kaiser, I've been writing about and coined the concept of a global hash war relating to Bitcoin for years. This idea has recently been co-opted and bastardized by members of the US military in a very stupid, disgusting, and unconscionable way. Also in today's show, Bitcoin Ordinals daily inscriptions surged due to BRC 20 tokens. We'll also be discussing India to facilitate international settlements in rupees to reduce the dependence on the US dollar. Also more breaking news, Saudi Arabia and OPEC reveal surprise oil production cut, while the White House insists that the cuts aren't advisable right now. We'll also be discussing long-term Bitcoin hodlers gobbling up $13.4 billion worth of Bitcoin in Q1 of this year. I'll be breaking down the latest insights from analytics firm Into the Block. We'll also be discussing Bitcoin liquidity drops to 10-month low amid U.S. bank run, and we'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this, plus so much more, in today's show. Welcome everyone tuning in. This is podcast episode number 1240. I'm your host JV. Today is April 3rd, 2023. And as you can see here in the market watch, the current market is currently correcting with Bitcoin down 0.3% for the day, but maintaining above 28,000. We have Ether down 0.11%, trading at around 1,800, with many of the major alts correcting, with Cardano one of the few in the green, up just 1%. And checking out coinmarketcap.com, the crypto market cap is sitting at 1.169 trillion with about 39 billion in volume in the past 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance at 46.4%, with the Ether dominance at 18.5%. And checking out the top 100 crypto gainers in the past 24 hours, SXP up 28%, trading at almost 88 cents, followed by INJ up 10%, trading at $5.55, followed by DYDX up 5%, trading at $2.49. Below that, we have Bitcoin Cash and Conflux. And also checking out the top 100 crypto gainers for the past week, XP also leading this pack, up 31%, and INJ up 8.4%. And yeah, pretty modest gains overall, with many overall in the red. And checking out one of my favorite indicators, the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, shows we're currently rated a 63 greed. Yesterday a 63, last week a 64, and last month a 50, which is neutral, dead in the middle. And yeah, so let me know if you guys are currently bullish on the King Crypto and how many of you have taken advantage of this dip as we dive into today's technical analysis. Now for the 5 things to watch out for in the Bitcoin market this week. Number 1, oil cut boosts the dollar as inflation concerns return. That's right, a key event over the weekend, which is now upending macro conditions, is the decision to cut global oil output. OPEC has announced voluntary cuts in production totaling 1.6 million barrels per day, and the impact was felt immediately, with the US dollar rising alongside energy costs. In fact, I'm going to be breaking this down in great detail a little later on in the show, as this is a pretty big deal. For the second factor, Bitcoin price rebounds from OPEC Plus news. Bitcoin initially felt the pressure from the OPEC Plus decision as the weekend faded, dropping below 28,000 to close the week in a disappointing style. However, during the April 3rd Asia trading session, Bitcoin staged a sudden comeback, jumping $865 from the overnight lows of 27.6 on Bitstamp. Popular trading account Dan Crypto Trades noted that in so doing, Bitcoin had closed another CME futures gap and thus exhibited classic Monday trading behavior. So definitely a good sign when we close them CME gaps. Now for the third factor to keep your eyes out on this week in the Bitcoin market, another week, another Bitcoin mining record. That's right, dip or no dip, the Bitcoin network fundamentals are in no mood to flip bearish this week. According to the latest estimates from BTC.com, the Bitcoin difficulty is due to yet to have another increase at the upcoming automated readjustment in 3 days. That's right, so on the 6th, this will take it from 47.9 trillion on a 2.3% rise, marking a new all-time high. For difficulty, and as they say, the Bitcoin price tends to follow the hash rate, and as long as we have strong fundamentals, I would expect a strong price action. Now for the fourth factor to keep your eyes out on this week, dormant Bitcoin supply sets for the records. That's right, Bitcoin is known for its ability to create supply shocks, but the latest data underscores this long-term trend. Despite the Bitcoin price comeback this year, the available supply dormant for a decade is more at all-time highs. That record was beaten again this week with staggering amount of Bitcoin not leaving wallet since at least April of 2013, equating to 12.8% of the total possible supply of 21 million BTC, or 13.9% of the mine supply thus far. Now, any mass interest in Bitcoin will thus mean that the buyers have a dwindling supply to purchase, while rising slightly in 2023. Exchange balances remain near their lowest since early of 2028, according to Glassnode. And now for the fifth and final factor to keep your eyes out on this week. Is it too euphoric? Well, crypto market sentiment has not yet digested the possibility of a significant retracement. According to the classic sentiment indicator, which I covered with you, the Crypto Greed and Fear Index, greed is what continues to characterize the overall mood. As of April 3rd, greed measures 63 out of 100, near its highest since Bitcoin's all-time highs back in November of 2021. Quoting resource Game of Trades here, the crypto market is getting too euphoric, and while a high level of greed as depicted by the index still has considerable room for growth until hitting extreme territory near 90, this is being a classic signal that a significant market correction is due. And now quoting the high priest of Bitcoin, he says, "I've been writing about and coined the concept of a global hash war relating to Bitcoin for years. This idea has recently been co-opted and bastardized and plagiarized by members of the U.S. military in a very stupid, disgusting, and unconscionable way." And he also continues, "This reminds me of the time that John Poindexter, the Defense Secretary Paul Wolfowitz, stole my HSX.com idea to create terrorism futures markets amid furor. Pentagon kills terrorism futures market. In my opinion, these bad actors are attempting to create an attack vector against Bitcoin and the benefits it brings for reasons that should be obvious. Bitcoin doesn't care, of course. The only loser here will be the United States and the American people." So there you have it. Let me know if you agree or disagree with what I just shared. And now let's dive into some Bitcoin NFTs as the market craze continues with BRC20 tokens. That's right. I know you've all heard of ERC20. Well, here's BRC20. A new daily all-time high has been recorded for the number of Ordinals inscribed in the Bitcoin network due to a recently launched token standard for the blockchain. Bitcoin Ordinals reached 58,000 inscriptions on April 2nd, smashing the previous all-time high of 31,700 on March 9th by 83.5%, according to Dune Analytics. The surge is believed to be driven by the recent creation of Bitcoin requests for comment, BRC20 tokens, on the Ordinals protocol by a synonymous on-chain analyst named Domo back in early March. While Ordinals are NFT-like digital artifacts which carry data in the form of text, JPEG images, PDFs, video, and audio formats in the Bitcoin network, the BRC20 token standard utilizes ordinal inscriptions to deploy token contracts, mint tokens, and transfer tokens, similar to Ethereum's ERC20 token standard. And that's right, you can have smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain. Take that. The arrival of ordinals and BRC20 tokens of Bitcoin were enabled by the Taproot soft fork, which took effect back in November of 2021. Over 55,000 of the inscriptions on April 2nd came in the form of text-based ordinals, many of which were represented by BRC20 tokens, according to leonids.org, the host of the Ordinals Focus podcast. Now, he also explained in a tweet that the spike on April 2nd came on the back of new tools used to interact with BRC20 tokens launched in the past few days. Quoting him here, "There was a lot of excitement around BRC20 when it launched a month ago, but eventually the hype died down. And during the lull, devs built tools to make interacting with BRC20 much easier, and we are now seeing all-time high interest. I've said it before and I'll say it again, UX matters." And amongst those new tools include Ord.io, Unisat Wallet, and BRC20.io. And according to BRC20.io, 1,600 tokens have been created since the BRC standard was created. Let's go. How many of you have used NFTs on the Bitcoin blockchain? Let me know. And amongst the popular BRC20 tokens include Pepe, Ordi, and Punk, currently boasting respective market caps of $2.5 million, $2.1 million, and $900,000. And over 42,700 BRC20 tokens have been minted in the last 24 hours, mostly coming from tokens Wizard, Domo, and the Bored Ape Yacht Club meme and pups. While the market cap of BRC20 tokens currently sits at less than 10 million, digital asset investment firm Galaxy Digital believes that the Bitcoin NFT market may reach $4.5 billion by 2025, which I covered in great detail in yesterday's episode. If you missed it, be sure to check it out. Members of the Bitcoin community are still split on whether Ordinals is a good fit for the Bitcoin ecosystem. Proponents, such as Dan Held, suggest it offers more financial use cases on Bitcoin, while others say it is straying away from Satoshi's vision of Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer cash system. So let me know your thoughts in the comments right down below. And now let's discuss our next breaking story of the day. More bad news for the US dollar. That's right, India to facilitate international settlements in rupees to reduce their dependence on the US dollar. And I don't blame them. India's government is introducing a new settlement method apart from the US dollar for international commerce. The new foreign trade policy guidance, which was implemented April 1st, includes a new option of settling payments in Indian rupees, giving countries facing a US dollar crush a way to continue trading with the country. A new directive would be directed to help countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Egypt, which are facing difficulties in obtaining US dollars to keep bartering goods with India. Commerce Secretary Sunil Barthwal stated that the measure would help disaster-proof these countries against a hypothetical dollar drought. I can say that again. The move is part of the efforts of New Delhi to profile its currency at a global level, and in this sense, the Department of Commerce of India explained this new foreign trade policy plan was designed to work towards making Indian rupee a global currency, adding further the impetus to India's emergence as the global trading hub. Now, India is the last one on the line of countries that put in a motion of certain initiatives to shift away from the US dollars, at least for international settlements. China, a part of the BRICS bloc, which is also integrated with India, Brazil, Russia, and South Africa, have also been promoting the use of the Chinese yuan as part of the international de-dollarization policy, as predicted by Max a very long time ago. And in the meeting that the Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin held as part of Xi's visit to Russia on March 21st, Putin supported the use of the Chinese yuan to settle payments with emerging economies in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Also, more recently, China inked a deal with the Brazilian government in order to ditch the dollar for their bilateral settlements, substituting it for national currencies. Other blocs are also contemplating different ways to diminish their reliance on the US dollar. ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the bloc that integrates Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, and Singapore, and Thailand, and Vietnam, is pushing its members to the use of national currencies for payments as they fear US secondary sanctions for not enforcing a trading ban on Russia. So there you have it. It seems the dollar is toast, to say the least, but we all know this, hence why we're Bitcoiners, right? Now for our next breaking story of the day, let's discuss what's happening with Saudi Arabia and OPEC, which is, again, more bad news for the dollar. Check it out. This weekend, Saudi Arabia and several major oil producers, including Russia, the UAE, Iraq, Kuwait, Oman, and Algeria, plan to reduce oil production by a total of 1.15 million barrels per day. Can you say a supply shock, right? Saudi Arabia and Russia announced that each country would decrease oil production by 500,000 barrels per day, while the UAE will cut 144,000 barrels per day, and Kuwait will reduce production by 128,000 barrels per day. The announcement of the oil superpower's decision to cut supply follows the reductions made in October when oil-producing nations announced a decrease in production by 2 million barrels per day. And at the time, the Biden administration expressed its anger and warned of consequences. And on Sunday, the White House responded to the surprise cuts, and a spokesperson for Biden's National Security Council said the U.S. does not believe that reducing production is advisable. Well, let's see if they still do it regardless of their advice. The spokesperson also stated that Biden's admin would continue to collaborate with oil producers to maintain low prices at the pump for American gas consumers. This news follows several reports over the last week indicating several large nations are shifting away from U.S. dollar settlements, which is a fact. According to Alexander Bakakov, the deputy chairman of the State of Duma, the BRICS countries, which include Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, plan to discuss the creation of a new reserve currency for the group of countries. That's right. In addition, China recently struck a bilateral deal with Brazil that enables trades in their respective national currencies to purchase liquefied natural gas. Now, the key word in this paragraph is the fact they're going to be creating their new reserve currency for a group of countries, which means I've also heard rumors that this could be backed by gold or other rare earth precious metals. And furthermore, with China's rapid growth, the BRICS bloc is now the world's largest gross domestic product group. Saudi Arabia and other major oil producers believe that the reduction in production will help stabilize the oil market and being implemented as a precautionary measure, according to their energy agency. Data indicates that despite the oil production cut in October, prices of Brent crude and other measures of oil barrels have decreased from $95 per barrel to $80. And last October, Democrat policymakers wanted to cut ties with Saudi Arabia, remove troops from the region, and end their arms sales. So there you have it. Things are not looking good for the United States. Things are not looking good for oil prices. Things are not looking good for the dollar, but things couldn't be any stronger and looking better for Bitcoin. It is what it is. Now let's discuss our next story of the day, and that's 13.4 billion in new Bitcoin hodlers, and then we'll be discussing the bank run crisis and how this is likely to continue to impact the King crypto and broader crypto markets. So here we go. Check it. New data from crypto analytics platform Into the Block reveals that long-term Bitcoin hodlers snapped up billions of dollars worth of the King crypto just in Q1 of this year. In the new report, they say that long-term investors of Bitcoin and Ethereum have significantly increased their exposure to digital assets in Q1 of 2023, which historically could mean that these entities won't likely sell until Bitcoin and Ether close in on their all-time highs. How many of you agree and are not selling until we reach at least all-time highs? Let me know. Quoting them here, the amount of Bitcoin and Ether owned by hodlers continues to hit all-time highs. Addresses hodling assets for over a year have increased their hodlings by 13.4 billion and 4.7 billion of Bitcoin and Ether, respectively, so far in 2023. So if history from previous bull markets repeats, these addresses are unlikely to sell until we approach previous all-time highs. Send it. Let's go. And according to the market intelligence firm, Q2 of this year could harbor potential catalysts for the leading two digital assets, such as ETH's upcoming Shanghai upgrade and Bitcoin's next halving cycle, which is just 1 year away, which is viewed as a force behind the crypto cycles, in which it really is. And Into the Block says that Ether's upgrade could cause short-term sell pressure due to the addition of staking withdrawals, but in the long term, it could be seen as bullish because it encourages more users to stake their ETH. Now, the firm also says that investors should keep an eye on key price levels for Bitcoin and Ethereum. According to Into the Block, investors accumulated around $17 billion worth of Bitcoin at 27,000 and $15.1 billion in ETH at around 1,700. Quoting them here, 27,000 and 1,700 for Bitcoin and Ether, respectively, are the levels to watch near term, as they have the largest concentration of buyers, with 623,800 Bitcoin valued at 17 billion and 8.4 million ETH valued at 15.1 billion being acquired at this level. If the prices were to breach this level, there's not much support based on previous buying patterns until 24.5 and 1,500 for Bitcoin and Ether. And on the sell side, recent highs of 29,000 and 1,850 have pressure from addresses that previously bought around the area, but there is not much further resistance if the price climbs beyond those levels. So there you have it. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the data from Into the Block. And now let's break down our final story of the day before we dive into some live Q&A. And welcome to everyone just joining us. I appreciate the love and the support. Here we go. Check it. Bitcoin market liquidity has dropped to a 10-month low despite a bullish quarter in terms of price gains. The liquidity dry up is partly attributed to the bank runs in the United States and the ongoing regulatory actions against crypto companies. As pointed out here by Connor Ryder, the liquidity situation in crypto is worsening after the banking fears of this month. I dived into several liquidity metrics to give an update on all things crypto liquidity. First, Bitcoin liquidity has dropped to 10-month lows as market makers lose access to US dollar payment rails. That's right, the Bitcoin price registered a 45% surge in 2023, making it one of the best performing assets. The price gains come amid a looming financial crisis in traditional financial markets, with stocks and bonds seeing their worst of years. And as the financial crisis has worsened, several banks obviously have collapsed. The banking crisis has also directly impacted the crypto ecosystem. The collapse of crypto-friendly banks such as Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank removed the important US dollar payment rails for crypto, leading to a liquidity crisis, especially on US exchanges. And I don't believe this is a coincidence. This, my friend, is all by design. Now, the crunch in liquidity has also led to increased price volatility, forcing traders to pay more fees and slippage. Slippage referring to the price difference between the expected price of a transaction and the price at which it's fully executed. So for a 100,000 sell order, the slippage for Bitcoin pair on Coinbase climbed by 2.5 times at the beginning of March. And during the same time frame, Binance's Bitcoin pairs slippage barely moved. So the liquidity crunch has also led to higher price volatility on the U.S. exchanges, where the price discrepancy between Bitcoin and the U.S. dollar pairs have increased drastically compared with non-U.S. exchanges. For example, the price of Bitcoin on Binance.us is more volatile than the average price across 10 other exchanges. Now, Connor Ryder, the research head of on-chain data analytics firm Kaiko, explained the drastic impact of the liquidity crisis on traders and the market. He noted that the stablecoins are replacing the U.S. dollar pairs, and although it lessens the impact of the U.S. banking troubles, it has an adverse effect on liquidity in the U.S. He added that it could indirectly harm investors there. So there you have it. You have been warned. And as we all know, Bitcoin supply shock incoming as the supply continues to dwindle, as the bank runs continue. I think this is ultra bullish for the king crypto and the greater good of the Bitcoin market due to its obvious scarcity. And also keep in mind, we have the Bitcoin halving right around the corner, 1 year away, because typically it's the year of the halving, markets return to all-time highs, and it's the year preceding the halving, we hit the height of the cycle, meaning the peak. For example, we had a halving in 2016, 1 year following in 2017, we hit the 20,000 all-time high. Then in 2020, the next halving, we return to all-time high, and then the following year in 2021, in November, we reached the all-time high of $69,000, which is the current high. So I would not be surprised to see a new Bitcoin all-time high return, if not this year, by next year in 2024, and then the market hits the cycle peak. I'm anticipating a $300,000 plus Bitcoin price by 2025. But let me know your thoughts in the comments right down below. And now let's dive into some live Q&A. And welcome to each and every one of you tuning into the live show. I greatly appreciate y'all continued support. Shank and Back, Jeff Selling with Twins, SpongeBob, good to see you. Dan Drummond, Chris Minka, Jeff S. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nathan Roth, good to see you as well. I'm going to scroll to the top. We got lots of comments in the building, which I always greatly appreciate. J-Dub the Lakers, good to see you back as well, family. Missed you here. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I'm skeptical of anything in place that stakes Bitcoin. You got to just ask where exactly are they getting it, says Dan Drummond. Great concern to have. Dankness says, I told them I would give a 5% discount if they did, and they bought and transferred right then and there with no hesitation. That's what's up. I was more skeptical about staking with the exchanges, even though Crypto.com is semi-stable. I'd rather it be locked in my wallet and they use it. Leverage for the loans or whatever they use it for. I mean, this is an excellent concern. Obviously, the hardest thing to do with your crypto, such as Bitcoin, for example, is to part with it, allowing staking. So for example, when you put your crypto on an exchange, let's just use Crypto.com as the example, not your keys, not your cheese. So now they own your Bitcoin. So if government went after them or something, God forbid, happened to the exchange like we witnessed in FTX, you're going to lose it. So only stake your crypto, which you're willing to lose, the same way only keep in your bank account what you're willing to lose. Because if it's not self-custodied, something can go wrong. You know what I mean? So you have to keep that in mind. So if you're looking to stake crypto, stake what you can afford to lose, or just hold it in self-custody, or as Dankness is sharing, obviously there's lots of different options to go about, but the safest thing, in my humble opinion, is just keeping it. And I'm not so concerned about a 5% gain from staking it because I have to give them my private keys. They own my Bitcoin in order to do so. I'd rather just self-custody it, being very optimistic that it's going to go up greater than that staked amount over time. In fact, when I got into Bitcoin back in 2017, I think roughly Bitcoin was trading at $1,500. And if you do the math, I mean, we're up tremendously. Let's just, for the sake of easy math, let's say it was at 2,000. Right now, let's hypothetically say Bitcoin is 30,000. That's a 15x. So in 6 years, my crypto went up 1,500%, Bitcoin specifically. So if I would have staked it, I would have had some risk factors, and also, it just is what it is. So I'm perfectly happy with 100%, 200%, or 300% gains per year without staking, and that's just keeping it in self-custody. But that's just my humble opinion. Let me know if you guys can relate to that or not. Exactly, hypothecation is what a bunch of people got, why they got wrecked. I was more skeptical, word up. 28,000, that's right, we're above 28,000 again. I'd love to see this pump. Currently, the high for this year is 29,200, so we're only about $1,100 away from the current price action. I think once we could turn 30,000, flip that resistance into a strong support, it's going to be ultra bullish, as, I mean, things can return to 40,000 quite fast. And considering we're already up tremendously for this year in the first quarter, I mean, this is looking to be a pretty brilliant year for Bitcoin in general, especially after a horrid year last year, which we witnessed with the collapse of FTX and many of the exchanges. You know what I mean? JV pumped to 29,000, please. Send it. Let's go. Treat your Bitcoin like your wife. Don't pimp out your Bitcoin for a little extra cash. I love that. In fact, I'm going to remember this quote. It's one of my favorite. Treat your Bitcoin like your wife. Don't pimp out your Bitcoin for a little extra cash. Facts. Well said, fam. Did anyone catch Andrew Tate's podcast yesterday? No, I didn't know he went live. Did he have an emergency hearing? I'll have to check on Rumble. I didn't see it. I would love to see what he has to say. Long live the top G. Shout out to Andrew and Tristan. Fun fact, one Bitcoin will buy you 7,046 Big Macs. 10 years ago, you couldn't even get one. Holy moly. Just goes to show you the dwindling dollar value going fast. I mean, let's see how much longer it even lasts. Dan Drummond, if you were buying that many Big Macs, you won't be around in 10 years. YouTube kept shutting it down. Sorry to hear that. We have to check Rumble. Obviously, YouTube is highly censored when it comes to, things of that nature. Crypto, my first job was also McDonald's. Me too. I know CZ's first job was also McDonald's, so a lot of McDonald dogs in here. I'll take the Bitcoin, please, and we'll supersize it, and we want a Trezor wallet as the free toy. Then I'm all for it. If not, screw McDonald's. Not a fan, never have been. Even when I worked there, I despised the place. In fact, it was just the only place that would give me a job because I had no work experience. I wanted to get a job at my local grocery store called Publix. How many of you have ever heard of Publix? Probably my favorite grocery store that down there in Florida. But nonetheless, I couldn't get the job because I had no experience. So I started working at McDonald's. I think I worked there for 1 or 2 months. Then I got the experience I needed. And then I applied again at Publix and finally got the job bagging groceries and collecting shopping carts in the parking lot. So that's my humble beginnings, fam. I wasn't always a Bitcoiner. I also taught English in China back in 2010 and 2011. I spent 13 months in China as an English teacher, just FYI. If you don't know, now you know. SBF dressed up as Ronald McDonald. SBF is Ronald McDonald. I mean, he's a clown. I hope they would do that in El Salvador. Word up. You're correct, twins. He wasn't just a burger place. It was a real estate tycoon, exactly. Ray Kroc is a genius, and exactly what it was. Owning more real estate, right? It's not about the burgers. It's about the real estate in the best locations of the world, the most exclusive real estate, right? Chris Minka, what up, fam? Good morning, Chris Minka. Good morning, Selling with Twins. Art Girl, welcome. Chris, welcome. Soft Wars by Jason was the book I was referring to months ago. Max is talking about. That's right. And Max has already blocked Jason Lowery, just FYI. He's calling it plagiarism and stealing his concepts. Max is very upset. So if you've been following that thread, that's why I wanted to make it a point to share what the High Priest of Bitcoin had to share regarding that book. You know what I mean? Smash that like button, Crypto News Alerts fam. Let's show some love. Greatly appreciate that, especially if you're new to the show. Hit the bell icon, turn on all notifications so you don't miss out. Max did have the idea first, as for most things in Bitcoin, but I disagree with him. Max had the original idea, but Jason expanded it. Someone had to. Word up. Don't forget to smash the like. Appreciate that, fam. Chris, all good, mate. Waiting for the pump. Send it. New all-time high can happen in as little as 3 to 5 weeks' time. Can happen in 2023. I think this has a good chance. This time is different. I hope you're right, and you're right. Expect the unexpected. Anything can happen. We can return to an all-time high before you know it. You know what I mean? How many of you expected Bitcoin to pump over 70% in the first quarter of 2023 after having the most horrific year in 2022? Not many of you, so anything can happen. Just a reminder, Frankie V in the building. Thank you for all your hard work and helping the CNA fam. Always appreciated. Appreciate your support, fam. Morning, friends. Who thinks Bitcoin will have to test support down around 25,000 before we head over 30,000? I think 30,000 is more likely just because it's only 2,000 away. 25 is 3,000 away, so hey, what more can I say? Good morning, crypto, and to the fam. Good morning, Nathan Roth. Good to see you. Chris, love the positivity, bro. Chris Minka, Squid, not sure, but I have set some small limits at 26.6 and 25.4, just in case any lower I scale. Quickly, word up. The price action is just starting to feel boring, says Squid Hammer. Time for a wild burst upwards. I hope you're right. Arthur, good morning, family. Appreciate you tuning in. The dollar is dead. Preach. Good morning, fam. Don't like the Ordinals. Do you feel it's messing up the network or clogging up the network? What's the reason you don't like it? Let me know. My currency, the ZAR, I guess that's in South Africa, is pumping to the dollar. That's great news. This dollar is being destroyed, so everything is pumping against the dollar right now. You know what I mean? But ultimately, all fiat currencies are doomed. That's why we Bitcoin, right? Good afternoon, everyone in the chat. If you're here right now and paying attention, you're a winner. Thank you for all the support, Crypto News Alerts fam community and channel. Appreciate that, Frankie. And you're right, everyone here is a winner. We're still early in the grand scheme of things, and you're here for a reason, I believe, if you're here. The petro US dollar is dead. The US dollar will still limp along much lower purchasing power for a little while longer. Word up. Gas prices will go to $10 a gallon and higher. Yeah, thank Joe Biden for that one. It's all by design. He wants you to be poor. He wants you to be enslaved. You know what I mean? He wants you to call him your daddy. It just is what it is. Screw Biden. Everyone moving to Australia to mine opal. Word up. Opal, something to do with oil. Interesting. Opal is far more scarce than gold and diamonds. Is it really? What makes it so valuable? Tell me more about it. I'm not selling much of any Bitcoin or fiat. I'll do peer-to-peer for assets. I want like a plane or another house. Exactly. You could also buy houses or cars and things with Bitcoin directly. You don't need to use fiat crap or CBDC crap coming out. You know what I mean? Destruction of Mother Earth to mine lithium for electric cars. Yeah. All in the name of, being green for the planet. A bunch of BS at the end of the day, just like global warming. You know what I mean? Donate all of your Shiba, says Nathan Roth. Max should have him on his show. That'd be great. I'd love to see those two debate. Alan says, hey, JV, is the Trezor Model T worth the extra cost versus the Model 1? I'm not familiar with it. I mean, it looks like it's a touch screen, but I personally like the smaller original model just because it's the one I use. You know what I mean? I bet you they're both great, but it's up to you if you want to spend the extra bucks on it. I think the original one will get the job done, but if you rather have a touchscreen and you don't have fat fingers, I'd recommend it. If you have fat fingers, I wouldn't recommend the touchscreen because it's still overall pretty small and you may be struggling to hit the buttons on the screen. But they both will get the job done. It's just personal preference at this point. You know what I mean? Alan Haley, good morning and welcome. Model 1 has physical buttons. Some people fear it going out. It was the standard for years. Model T is worth the money. Trezor rocks. Trezor is the go-to cold wallet storage provider for Bitcoin. Definitely highly recommended. Slaves, the food and shelter, that's it. Don't ever settle for that. You deserve more if you work for it. I don't use my cold storage often, so I don't need anything fancy. Exactly. It's not really for everyday use. It's just for holding for the long term. And you may be holding that for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Give China the boot. Yeah, not a fan of China after living there. I never want to go back. One of the things I despise the most is the pollution. I lived in a city called Taiyuan, not Taiwan, Taiyuan in Shanxi province, maybe an hour from Beijing, taking a bullet train. And there was so much fog in the sky, you couldn't see any stars. In fact, you can barely see the moon. In fact, if you walk around the streets, if you pick your nose in the evening, it'll be black. Because that's how bad the pollution is. You know what I mean? And when I lived there in 2010, they all wore masks. Not because of COVID, but because the pollution was that bad. Like, it can reduce your life expectancy bad. So one of the most unsafe places to be is China. The pollution is no joke. They just burn trash on the streets. Just burning trash in the streets. So for that reason alone, not a fan. I can never see myself moving back there. I thought it would be a cool experience, because I grew up watching Shaw Brother Kung Fu flicks. But guess what? Not many people practice Kung Fu in China. It's changed. It's become westernized. They look up to Hollywood here in the U.S., stuff like that. They love the NBA. I remember the kids, they love the NBA. They love pop culture of the United States. They love Michael Jackson and things of this nature. But nonetheless, I'll never be going back. Never plan on it. I like Asia in general. Thailand is a beautiful country. Bali is a beautiful country. But there's just no reason for me to ever go back to China, especially already spending so much time there. Just have no desire. Anyone else have trouble making deposits to wallets through Binance? Holy shucks. Also, keep in mind, fam, never store any crypto on any exchange. I don't care what exchange it is. Only use the exchange to execute a trade. and exit out and put it on your Trezor or cold storage wallet is going to be the safest protocol. You know what I mean? Keeping long-term crypto on the exchange, treating it like it's your wallet when you don't even own the private keys, in my humble opinion, is a big mistake. So I just want to make that very clear. And I don't care what exchange it is. It could be Coinbase, it could be Binance, it doesn't matter. FTX was once the second largest crypto exchange in the world, the fastest growing exchange in the world. Gone. No longer exists. You know what I mean? I used to rake it staking, but stopped around the pandemic. Trust in exchanges dropped too much. Exactly. And even the decentralized exchanges are honeypots for the hackers. More and more hacks I'm reading about like every week. It's insane. It's a joke. Crypto News Alerts fan would never buy Shibo. Makes me laugh. Yeah, that's hilarious. Never touch that with a 10-foot pole. Don't diss Ronald like that. Yeah, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Had problems buying on Binance today, and a few people I know. Well, that's a red flag. If you're having problems buying on it, try a different exchange. The top exchange in the United States, FYI, are going to be Kraken. The Winklevoss twins one is that Gemini. There's quite a few. Help me. The ones I can think of off the top of my head are Coinbase, Kraken, and Gemini. But there's quite a few. Use one you feel comfortable with. If they're giving you problems, maybe a red flag not to use it, or a sign from God, maybe an omen from the heavens above. You know what I mean? Be safe out there. Protect your crypto, fam. If you're not going to protect it, no one else is. You got Gary Gensler coming after it, so do something about it. You know what I mean? I'm not selling much, says Chris. That's what's up. Keep hodling. You're a winner, Frankie V. Facts. You know what I mean? I suspect the Fed is selling Bitcoin to keep the price at 28,000. Shenanigans. Well, yeah, that's true. Strike, Uphold. Oh, yeah, Strike is another one. That's Jack Muller's company. Good stuff. And you can probably do auto buys and stuff like that so you can dollar cost average. How many of you are still dollar cost averaging on Bitcoin? Let me know. Selling with twins. Mike Well, welcome, welcome. I don't use the cold card often, so I don't need anything fancy. Word up. But anyways, fam, now for a recap of what I covered with you here in today's show. And someone says, Swan, Bitcoin is a good on-ramp. It's basic, though. I know you can just buy Bitcoin there. So there you have another option. Cash App, I think, is another option. So quite a few options out there. But anyways, here's a recap of what I covered with you here in today's show. I shared with you the 5 things to watch out for in the Bitcoin market this week. We also discussed Bitcoin NFTs as Ordinals daily inscriptions surged due to the BRC 20 tokens. We also discussed breaking news of India to facilitate international settlements in the rupees to reduce their dependence on the US dollar. We also shared that Saudi Arabia and OPEC reveal surprise oil production cut, while the White House insists that cuts are inadvisable right now. And also, we discussed long-term Bitcoin hodlers gobble up 13.4 billion worth of Bitcoin just in Q1, according to analytics firm Into the Block. And I also shared the latest of Bitcoin liquidity dropping to 10-month lows amid the ongoing US bank runs. But where do you feel the Bitcoin price is likely to go next? Let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.